Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the session on speaking to our children about gender-based violence, or GBV as we call it. My name is Karen Battison, and I'm pleased to be able to share this time with you. We all have the right to feel safe, don't we? Especially in our own homes. Yet it is in our homes that we often don't feel safe. Why is that? Sometimes the people who are supposed to protect us, those who are supposed to be our safe adults, are the very ones who hurt us. The reason why some people become violent is not really the topic today, so we can't go into that. But I just want to say that it does have to do with power and control and a deep-seated emotional and psychological damage. It's not an easy fix. Although we may not know why someone is acting violently, we need to know that we, as the receiver of the violence, are not to blame. We did not choose to be a victim, and we do not need to remain a victim. With the help of friends and family and the community, we can break the cycle. However, we can and must do something to end GBV. Each one of us needs to take an active role in eliminating this violence. This may seem like a daunting and unreachable goal, but I believe it is possible. Let me ask you something. What is one subject that was not offered to us at school? Well, there are actually quite a few, but the one that I'm thinking of is very important, and that is how to be a parent. Yet it's the most important job on earth, and we're not taught how to do it. We are not taught how to raise respectful and successful children. Most of us learn as we go along, and we hope that we're doing fine. Luckily, a child is able to learn most things on his or her own, and others they learn from observing the environment, or their friends, or the TV, which is not always a good thing. However, children are copycats. They are quick to copy and repeat what they see their parents and family members doing. One of our aims this week is to look at some of the root causes of gender-based violence. A major root cause of GBV is the gender roles, the ideas and the attitudes that we instill in our children. We don't usually teach a child how to be a boy or a girl. Let's rather say we don't do it consciously or in a way that we are aware of it. When they are born, we observe that they have certain genitals and we accept that they are a boy or a girl. And then we treat them in a way that we have learned from our own past experiences. We each hold a personal view of men and women. It could be positive or negative. Whatever view we hold of men and women is what we convey or transfer onto our children. We show our children by our own attitudes how to treat each other. They mostly learn about gender roles by how we as adults behave in the home. How we interact as mom and dad teaches them much about the role of men and women, because kids do as they see. The boy looks at his father and other men in his family to see how to behave towards women, and girls do likewise. Before we can thus help our children to be more fair and respectful in the way they treat each other, we need to look at ourselves and our own prejudices. What ideas and stereotypes do we hold in terms of the role of a woman and a man? Do we ourselves value one gender above another? Do we see the one gender as having only a specific role to play? In 2009, I was working with a group of ladies in an informal settlement, and one day we were discussing men and fathers. There were about 55 women in that group. Each one of them said that they did not have a good thought about a man or a father. Not one of them could name a man that they knew that was good, a man that they knew that was a role model. each one of them had no significant father figure in their lives, and each one of them had children, and the fathers did not stick around to play a role in these children's lives. This was extremely sad for me, as I realized that many of them had sons, and that they would be transferring this negative image and the feelings that they held about men and fathers to their own sons. And this is, I believe, where we as parents should start. We have to start with ourselves. How do we view the opposite sex, and how do we as women view men? As we know, in South Africa we have many different cultures, and thus different ways we act and behave in the family. But one stereotype that is quite general is that women and girls in the home do the cleaning and cooking, and men wait to be served by the women. Some men even demand to be served, and they expect that from women. I know, for instance, that my husband was not allowed to set the table by his grandmother. His mom would ask him and his sister to set the table, and then his grandmother would intervene and say, "No, that's a girl's task." If this is how a boy is raised, it seems that the man's identity is dependent on his woman doing the serving, and if she doesn't do it, then it reflects badly on him. His male friends will tease him if he tries to assist, or if he does tasks traditionally attributed or labeled as a woman's job. He gets told, "Oh, your woman sits on your head, and she wears the pants." It is these very rigid gender roles and stereotyped constructions of masculinity and femininity that drive the violence in the homes and relationships in our country. If men grow up with a stereotype that women are slaves in the home, they will treat their own wives that way, and when their wives don't behave as they should, they may take it upon themselves to control their women and put them in their place. If the man in the house can start to see that he and his partner are equals, that they as parents are a team, then he can have a positive influence in raising a boy and a young man who is not ashamed by helping a woman in the house. If men and women are a team rather than one being the boss, and they share the responsibilities in the house, this will teach children that males are not superior to females. Recently, I read about a man on WhatsApp who was teased and ridiculed because when his male friends were visiting for supper, he got up after supper, he took the dishes to the kitchen and he washed them. His friends laughed and asked him why he had to help his wife, as she could do it on her own, as after all it was her job. He said to them, "I do not help my wife to clean the house because I live here as well, and thus I need to clean as well. I do not help my wife to cook because I eat as well, and thus I need to cook too. I do not help my wife to wash the dishes after eating because I also eat, so they are my dishes to clean as well." This man was obviously an enlightened man and did not follow the stereotypical stereotype. The mainly macho culture has taught men that everything in the home is a woman's job. However, men need to learn to behave like a true companion and not a guest in their own house, who only comes to eat, to sleep, to bath, and to satisfy himself. And how do men do this? They learn this as small boys when they are in the house. Early childhood is a key development period when children begin to learn about gender and gender roles and how men and women should be treated. Who teaches boys and girls these roles and these values? We do, of course. We as parents do. As mothers, we are the first to influence our kids, and then the father starts influencing, and after that, of course, the school, the community, and then even television and movies that they watch. The psychologist Battison says a boy child needs to understand that there are no major differences between a male and female. She says, I quote, "With boys, the most important thing we teach them from the beginning is that there is no difference between themselves and the girls they grow up with, in terms of respect, in terms of how they treat their little sisters, and how they talk to them. But the biggest lesson, she says, is actually doing it in their presence. Basically, what you as an adult teach your kids, what you teach your kids from what you do will be the best lesson that you give them. So they need to know the difference between respect and abuse and taking other people for granted, Ramatwala says. Someone also recently said to me, to achieve gender equality, we need to dismantle and reframe countless systems, and we can start by letting little boys cry. You could tell your son that it's not a weakness to share his feelings or to feel sad or to cry. In fact, it takes courage to share those feelings, and he's being brave by doing so. Another essential part of parenting is developing self-confidence and resilience and teaching our children empathy. You can foster positive self-esteem and empathy in children of any gender by giving all children positive feedback. For example, you might say to a child, "I noticed how kind you were to your friend when she fell down," or "You were very helpful with cleanup today, you are such a great helper," or "You were such a strong runner on the playground today." We can also look for opportunities to help children practice positive language that they can use with each other. Here are some examples that you could use. Boys and girls can be good at sport. Boys and girls can be good at dancing. Boys and girls can both be good at cooking. Everybody can play in the kitchen. Everybody can play in the tool area. Ball games are for everyone, not just boys. Colors are colors. They aren't boy colors or girl colors. All children like different colors. Let's look at some more specific ideas for educating kids about violence. I have 7 points I want to share with you, and then I'll give you some discussion points that you can share in a small group. The first point is to open the lines of communication. Teach children to feel comfortable coming to you with any question and any issue. Show that you are really listening by putting down your cell phone and looking at them. Make sure they know that you will listen to them and that their voice matters. Ask them when you put them to bed at night, what was good about your day? What was not so good about your day? And what did you do that was nice or kind for someone else today? This teaches them to grow their empathy. You could also ask, did you see someone else do something that was kind today? This helps them to recognize what it means to care for each other, whether it is a boy or a girl. You could also ask, did you see someone else who did something that was not nice? Or did someone do something to you that was not nice? This will also open up the communication and help you to tune in with them so that you can hear about instances of bullying or abuse. The second point is positive reinforcement. Compliment and reward kids when they display positive, non-violent and non-sexist behavior when solving problems and interacting with other people. By simply pointing out and punishing violent or aggressive behavior, it won't stop that behavior. They don't understand why the behavior is unacceptable. We have to sit down and explain to them and talk it through with them, not purely punish them. A better approach would be to show them why it's negative and to really provide ready alternatives of positive behavior that they can easily remember and use. For example, some of the rules that one can enforce in a home and make it a daily thing is, in our home, you may not hurt yourself, you may not hurt others, and you may not break anything in the way you express what you are feeling. So we teach kids that you can play in any way you want, but you may not hurt yourself, you may not hurt others, and you may not break anything in the way you express what you are feeling. Also, offer them alternatives to acting out behavior when they are upset or angry. You can tell them that when they are feeling really angry, not to hit others or break things, but go to their room and rather punch their bed or pillow until they are feeling better. They could also take a sheet of paper with a red or black crayon and scribble out their feelings on there until they feel better. Or they can go for a run or a swim. You can tell them that you will time them running around the house, and that will get rid of that pent-up energy, and they will feel better and not want to act on their aggressive feelings. Another very good idea is to have a safe place in the home or the classroom where they can go and cool down if they are upset or angry. This is just a small area where there's a blanket and some cuddly toys and maybe some books. So when you see that a child is acting out or is upset or angry or violent, you take him to that area, and if you have time, sit with him. Maybe hold him on your lap. And if the child is very angry, ask them to take some deep breaths for you so that they can calm down. So instead of making time out a time of punishment, make it a time where they can be comforted and soothed and learn to understand their feelings better and learn to control their feelings better. This will teach them to get in touch with their feelings and not ignore them or to push them down as we teach most men to do. Keeping calm and listening to a child or teenager while teaching them to handle their feelings is very important. It can make a very stressful and potentially disciplinary situation into a learning opportunity about non-violence and respect in relationships toward women and girls and each other. If you see your child engaging in violent behavior, imposing a time-out or none other violent modes of discipline can help teach him that there are peaceful ways of resolving conflict or interpersonal problems. The third point in our talk is boundaries. Establishing boundaries for children about what is or is not acceptable teaches them about healthy problem solving, healthy relationships, and non-violent conflict resolution. Once children are able to recognize and respect boundaries, they will be better able to understand the importance of consent in relationships and where to draw the line with aggressive or antisocial behavior towards others. We need to teach kids that we have the right to feel safe all the time. This will empower those who feel vulnerable and hopefully also send a message to those who are intending to hurt or bully others. With that right of feeling safe comes a responsibility, not to do anything that would leave other people feeling unsafe. And we can identify if we are feeling unsafe by listening or tuning into our early warning signs. Those are the things that happen in a child's body or even an adult's body, like butterflies in the stomach, wobbly knees, or a heart beating faster, or a dry mouth. And those feelings let us know that we don't feel okay. So you can teach a child that when he recognizes those feelings, he can come to you and say, I don't feel okay. We can also teach children that when they don't feel okay, they are allowed to say no. For example, when they do not want to play, or be tickled, or hugged, or kissed, they can say no. Help them understand what is considered acceptable and unacceptable behavior. Encourage them to always speak up if someone acts in a way that makes them uncomfortable. Even if they were unable to object or to say no at the time, they can tell you afterwards. Teach children that they must listen to and accept others' limits as well, and when someone says no to them, they must listen and respect that. In my personal safety program of Sam and Sally with preschool children, I teach kids that sometimes the safe adults in our lives, the ones that love us and care for us, can do things to hurt us. When they do, they become unsafe people. I give the kids the example that their best friend at school can hurt them in a play activity, for instance by hitting them with a stick. And when they get hurt, they need to do something. Firstly, they need to say no to that friend that is hurting them, then go away from that friend and tell a teacher. So the steps are to say no, don't do that to me, go away from that friend and tell a teacher. The teacher will then talk to the child and get the other child to apologize, and they can fix the relationship. However, when the child comes back to school the next day, he might see that other friend that hurt him the previous day and find that he's not feeling very safe with him. Thus I teach children that they don't always have to play with people that hurt them, even if they are their friends. because it will take time to trust that friend again that hurt them. I teach the kids to show me their fingers, and on their fingers they must list who they can trust. Usually they say father, mommy, uncle, aunt, auntie, granny, and the policeman. And when they feel that they've been hurt or they feel uncomfortable, they can go to one of those people and talk to them. I also teach them that they should keep telling. If they tell the first person and that person doesn't believe them, they tell the next person, and so on, until they find someone who does believe them. Of course, sexual abuse is also part of GBV. So we teach kids the same concept, that if anyone, even the safe adults in their lives, the ones that love them, touch them where their costumes cover them up, they should go and tell someone. Let your children know that they must tell you if anyone touches them in the private areas, no matter who the person is or what the person says to them. Teach children that it is not okay to keep secrets. If someone tells them it's a secret, you should ask the child at night, when you're asking him those other questions about how his day was, you could ask him, did anyone share a secret with you today? To make sure that our children aren't being groomed or exposed in that way. When talking to your child about these sensitive things, assure him that they can tell you anything and they won't be in trouble. If they tell you that they've been touched inappropriately, don't react in a shocked way. Rather, tell them that you are proud of them with sharing this important information, and then help them through the situation or find appropriate help with a teacher or a social worker. That was number 3. So number 4 is we need to find teachable moments with our children. We need to be on the alert to possible teachable moments that could come anytime and anywhere. Teachable moments about violence against women can come in any shape or size. It could be your child coming home from school and telling you about how he or she heard one child calling another child a very bad sexist term, such as a female cat, if you know what I mean. You can turn that into a teachable moment by transforming it into an opportunity to talk to him or her about name calling and how it is wrong. We can tell them that name calling and insults is also a form of violence against women. You can also look out for examples in movies or on YouTube videos or maybe books that you are reading together. Ask questions that get the kids to think about the issue. Ask them why violence against women is wrong and how they think we can help to stop the violence. For example, when Chris Brown beat up Rihanna, it made the headlines, and because both artists have a huge fan base of teenagers and young adults, it was an incident that most kids knew about, and it was a very good teaching opportunity for parents. So conversations about why domestic or dating violence is unacceptable could be built on discussing that piece of news. Point number 5 is preparation. Talk to your children about dating and relationships before they enter into the dating world. So when they're still very young, when they aren't even ready to date, tell them about what they can expect from a healthy relationship, including mutual respect and being accepted for who they are. Teach them that they do not have to change for their partner. Let them know what abusive relationships could look like, including common red flags and signs that indicate that they may be dating a possible abuser or be in an abusive relationship. By helping them set a healthy minimum standard for their relationships, you will be preparing the child to identify relationships and potential life partners that are respectful, loving and non-violent. Number 6, make healthy relationships for yourself as an adult a priority. Most people form their ideas about relationships from a very young age as they observe their parents' relationship. This is one of the ways in which domestic violence can trickle down over several generations through boys who grow up thinking that hitting a woman is normal, and girls who grow up expecting to face violence as part of a normal relationship. So one of the best ways to break or never even start the cycle of abuse for the next generation is to be mindful and aware of your own relationships and how you interact with your life partner. So be a role model. That is number 7. Be a role model. Your reaction to anger and frustration and conflict when interacting with other people may well become a behaviour template for your children or the children that look to you. So be self-aware and thoughtful about your own conduct towards yourselves and others, and set yourself the same standards of non-violence, respect and acceptance that you wish to teach the children and teenagers in your life. It's critical that parents, guardians, mentors and teachers begin educating children about non-violence, gender equality and violence against women as soon as possible so that we can eliminate gender-based violence. Thank you for watching this video. The small group leader will now share the discussion points with you, and I hope that you will have a fruitful time of discussion. Thank you once again.